This is the K&N Series 50 NextGen Cold Air Intake with the high-flow oiled filter, and it is available for all 2025 and newer inline 6 Ram 1500s. Now, the K&N should appeal to Ram owners out there that essentially want the best of both worlds out of their intake system. The increased sound of an open element design, but with the partially sealed airbox to help prevent excess heat soak from entering the intake. The K&N will include a rotomolded plastic intake tube, unique molded airbox design, and the reusable high-flow oiled filter, all for right around that high $400 price point. Now, moving into features, and one of the biggest is the fact that the NextGen is one of the newer systems from the legendary K&N brand, with the main feature of delivering what they're calling a hybrid airbox design. Traditionally, you either have a fully sealed airbox or a design that is pretty open, and both really have their pros and cons. But in this case, K&N has come up with their NextGen system that kind of blends the line between the two styles, so owners can enjoy the pros of each, a little bit more sound under hard acceleration, while still maintaining slightly lower intake air temperatures and keeping power numbers up in warmer environments. Now, the design, along with other components here, leads to a nearly 40% increase in flow over your factory airbox with your inline 3-liter, and some pretty lofty advertised gains without using a tune, which, by the way, very important to point out, a tune is not required here at the K&N, so you can bolt the system up and go without the need for anything else. All right, let's move into construction here. And what do you say we start off with that legendary K&N filter? Of course, this is a washable and reusable high-flow oiled filter here, featuring the cotton media design that K&N has made famous and has utilized for a very long time, because it just flat out works with that oiled design. Now, this filter with proper maintenance will essentially last you the life of your Ram, and that filter media here will reside in the very unique hybrid airbox, as K&N is calling it, which we did cover at length at the very beginning of the video. But again, airbox itself is going to feature a molded plastic design, just like the molded plastic intake tube here, which, by the way, has been CAD designed to maximize flow while still fitting easily in the stock location. Speaking of which, the intake will mount in the factory location using the included clamps and couplers, and is backed by K&N's signature million-mile warranty. Price point for the K&N Series 50 NextGen system will land in that high $400 ballpark, which does put the K&N in line with other more premium options here on the site from companies like AFE, Corsa, and Air Raid, just to name a few. Last but not least, let's get into the installation. And because this is going to be a simple bolt-on job, the site's going to stick with a solid 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about an hour to complete from start to finish. But now, to give you a better idea of how this one might go down in the garage or driveway at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
Tools required for this install include a ratchet, clip remover tool, scissors or diagonal cutters, 3 and 4 millimeter Allen wrenches, T20 Torx driver, an extension, 8, 10, and 13 millimeter sockets. Today we're installing an intake on our Ram, so let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is remove our engine cover. Now, right behind the back of it here, we have a 13 millimeter nut. It's going to be really hard to get a camera angle on that, but just kind of feel it with your finger, grab a 13 millimeter socket, and remove it. And then with that out of the way, we just need to lift up on the engine cover to pop it off the grommets, and then pull forward and remove it. Next, we need to pop our coolant line out of these clips and remove all the push clips holding in our MAF sensor wiring. So just kind of spread these clips apart and lift up, pop that out. And then we're going to grab a clip remover tool to pop all these clips out. And then we're going to pull back on the tab and then press in. This is the tab you're pulling back on to disengage it, to unlock, and then you're going to push in on that same tab to disconnect your connector. And I'm just going to slide that out of the way for now. Next, I'm going to take an 8 millimeter socket to loosen up the clamp at the throttle body. And I'm just going to try to wiggle that back and off. Now we don't have a lot of play on that clamp, so I'm going to come back to the one right before the airbox, loosen that up with an 8mm socket, and pop this accordion part backwards. So now I'm going to come to my airbox. I'm going to pull straight up to lift this off the grommets, and then we'll have room to pull our tube off. So get that out of the way. Now we have one 10mm bolt hiding right next to the oil filler. So I'm going to grab a 10mm socket, get down there and remove that. And now we just need to lift up to pop the backside off the grommet, and then we'll just wiggle this right off the throttle body. So now that we have our stock intake removed, I grabbed my intake box. We're going to need to pop off those 4 grommets as well as our mass airflow sensor to install into our new intake. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a T20 Torx driver to remove the 2 screws holding in our MAF sensor. And then we'll slide that out, and we'll come over to our new intake tube. The first thing we need to do is mount this foam pad to the back of our mount for the MAF sensor. Just peel off that double-sided tape, make sure that your cutouts line up with these bolt holes. Stick it down. And then we want to line this up. We've got an arrow on our MAF sensor. It's going to point towards the throttle body. So we want to see which way this lines up. So now we want that arrow on the mass airflow sensor pointed that way. So we're going to drop it in, make sure that these 2 holes line up. If they don't line up, then you need to pop this out and rotate this around. But we have a proper orientation now, so I'm going to take our Allen bolt with a flat washer and thread it into the threaded hole in our intake tube. And then take a 4mm Allen wrench, tighten down those bolts. And then we can take our mass airflow sensor, carefully drop that in, and then take your 2 smaller Allen bolts and thread those in. Then grab a 3mm Allen wrench, snug them up, and then tighten them down. Next, we're going to mount our bracket here. We've got an oval hole and a circle hole. We want to take our bolt with a lock washer and flat washer through the oval hole and then thread it into our intake tube. And then we want this rotated up. We have a clip that's going to go in here to hold our coolant line. So have that sticking up, and then take a 10mm socket to orient that so that it's sticking up, and then grab a 10mm socket to tighten it down. So now we need to transfer over our grommets from our stock airbox to our new one. So we're just going to wiggle all these out, and then you can just bring them over to your new box. Press those in. Just do the same thing for the other 3. When you get these pretty much in, but they won't snap in completely, if you twist them a little bit, they'll pop right in. So next we have a couple clips that we're going to be popping onto our filter, and then we can get it into our box. So we've got an orange one. This is going to go on first, right at the top. So just push it on to one of those fins. And then the red one's going to be directly below it. Now this is going to be if you have the truck in front of you and you're looking at it. I'm backwards on the table right now, so it's going to go just right there. And now with the airbox installed, you'd be looking at it this way, where the red is directly below it. So then we're just going to line this up, press it in, and it's going to clip into your airbox. So now we're going to pop our intake box into place. We've got these 4 posts that our grommets are going to slide down on. So just get those lined up. So now we're going to get our intake tube in. So I'm going to take our biggest clamp, throw that onto the filter, and then I'm going to take my coupler with 2 clamps and slide that onto the throttle body. And then we can maneuver our tube into place. Pop that coolant line up above that bracket. And then you can grab an 8mm socket to tighten down all your clamps. Make sure they're on there straight before you fully tighten them. So now we can grab the connector for our mass airflow sensor. We're gonna plug it in, and then remember you have this clip that you need to push towards the connector to lock it into place once it's clipped in. Press that in, and then press that locking tab down. And then we've got this zip tie clip. The clip part is gonna go into that bracket that we installed on our intake tube, and then it's just gonna wrap around our coolant line. So I'm gonna get the zip tie part started first, and then I'll clip it into that bracket. And then I'm just gonna take a pair of diagonal cutters to cut off the excess from the zip tie. And then we just need to reinstall our engine cover. We've got this pin back here that needs to slide into that grommet first. Get that lined up, push it back in. And then we're just gonna be lining up all of our grommets with those pins. Press that down into place. And then you can take that nut that goes right behind this main part of the engine cover, thread it onto the stud. Then grab a 13mm socket and tighten it down. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the K&N Series 50 NextGen Cold Air Intake with high flow oiled air filter for your 2025 and newer 3-liter Ram 1500. Thank you for watching, and for all things Ram, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.